Our sutra for this week is Sutra 131. Dukkha dormanasya angama jayatva svasa prasvasa vikshepa saha bhuvaha. Accompaniments to the mental distractions include distress, despair, trembling of the body, and disturbed breathing. So, of course, these are mental distractions, but let's look at each one of them. I mean, distress is all-encompassing. It's anxiety. It's that space where the thought process is very chaotic and a bit frenetic. And so, that's definitely going to pull focus, whether that practice that you're in is meditation or asana or pranayama. Despair. Despair is a rough one. This despair is hopelessness. So, I would say that for someone that feels that space of despair, that feels that space of loss of hope, that it's amazing that they're on their mats in the first place. That's awesome. Because there's that wanting, that reaching out to be helped or to try to rekindle and find that space of hope. Definitely is a mental distraction without question. Trembling of the body. So disturbed breathing, these kind of go together. Teaching as long as I have, almost 26 years now, the trembling of the body happens for two reasons. And one is muscle fatigue. It really is physical. It's that the body is in a space that's just too much and it needs a break. It needs a breath. So in those moments, I encourage my students to come down for sure, to take a moment to reset the body. The other reason for this trembling, though, is the detoxing. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It can be a deeply emotional practice where the body trembles from the inside out. It can be fear-based, it can be sadness, it can be anger. And it really does push out of the body in this way that feels very uncontrollable. Yet it's really lovely because it means that those things that need to come out, those things that are stuck and trapped and literally just eating you away, they're starting to find their way out. So to know which one of those is happening so that, if the muscle fatigue is happening, no, you want to come down. If the other is happening, it's really good to try to stay and push through it, breathe through it, so that those issues, those traumas can leave. Disturbed breathing, sometimes that's simply because we're not sure what Ujjayi breath is. We're not sure how we're supposed to be breathing in the practice. That's why it's really lovely to be in a led practice where those teachers, they're teaching each breath so that you know where you're going. And you're constantly reminded to be breathing. The disturbed breathing can happen, again, for emotional, mental reasons. It can be because you're overwhelmed. It can be something that needs to come out and the breath just won't catch. So if the breath won't catch, it's time to come down for sure. Also if the practice is too fast, if it's just moving too fast, if you can't seem to find your breath, come down, let it go, find child's pose, find a seated space for a moment until you feel that you've returned to that deep, even breath so that you can then continue your practice. The breath is the thread, it's the through line that connects the body, the mind, and the spirit. So without that breath, we lose the union, we lose the connection of our yoga, we lose our yoga, essentially. So very, very important. The last two sutras seems as if we're just throwing distractions. These are all the things that can distract us from our practice and staying focused in our lives. And that can feel quite negative, but think of them as being just the opposite, as allowing us opportunities to observe and see these as they're happening so that we can start to transition and change those patterns into a space of being aware of them, observing them, seeing them as they're happening, and then changing that pattern before they're able to come to full fruition. All right, Shanti.